Hello. Can you hear me?
Hi, Levi.
Hi.
I'm wondering. No, I can't. Oh, simple as that.
There it is. Sorry, there was someone who had this room right before me and they kind of ran over a couple minutes, so
Let me see if I can adjust my volume. Oh, there it is.
I don't know if we're waiting on anyone else. I haven't heard from Colin or Paul, and I don't know, Alistair, is John planning on attending?
I don't know. John has been down with COVID. Um,
Okay.
Pretty bad dose. So that's all I know. I haven't, in fact, some of my lack of progress is because John said to me, once you get that thing stable, point me at it and I'll review it. And days went by, and I eventually pinged him and said, "Hey, when am I going to, get a review?" And he said, "Oh, I'm recovering from COVID. I haven't even thought about it." So,
That's all right. So let's go ahead and get started unless we hear from anyone else to wait up. I know Keith is also not able to come today. Um, so I know Court has oh, there's Colin. Um, Colin, can you hear us? Still working on it.
Some reason it defaults to no video and no sound.
Yeah,
I have to.
that's set up by the administrator for the room, and often I appreciate it if I'm not quite ready to have my mug displayed.
Yeah.
Still primping or getting my hair just right.
All right. So, Colin, have you heard from Paul? Do you know if he plans to attend?
I haven't heard from Paul this week at all. No.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and just get jump into it then. Court, I know that you wanted to go first because you've got to drop off. So
Yeah,
do you want to give your update?
I'm actually in a meeting and escaped for just a few minutes because I do have an update that I'm enthusiastic about. Last time we met, I was able to report that I had a working bot, the super simple, and I created that pull request that people could look at to see, just how small of a change it is to at least add some intelligence. And then I said that I had an aspiration to see if we could compile the chess robot into ANSI C using MC3020. And so I'm happy to report this time that the answer is yes. And it took about seven business days worth of effort, primarily detailed handcraft code of matching the Lichess API, which is a JSON, file format API, and all of those different types and messages needed to be populated into structured data types and arrays and things that are native to MC3020. But now it works, and not only can I compile the main branch and play the bot against another bot or against myself, but Levi has also generated the code and run it, and so it's not done, because the real goal is a performance comparison, and that'll come next, primarily by compiling Levi's you know, incremental look ahead and doing a comparison between the Java generated code and the C generated code. That should happen before we meet again. It's not there today, but we're in a place where we can look to doing that. Levi, do you want to add any more that you've observed since you looked at the branch?
Yeah, just to follow on, I didn't have any updates in terms of my implementation since last time. No significant updates, I don't think. But I have been supporting this effort with MC3020, and today I updated the Java implementation. So backing up a little bit, in order to support MC3020, there were a few minor model changes that needed to be made. And one of those is that MC3020 doesn't support returning array types from an EE. So the legal moves bridge, which returns an array of legal possibilities, was not able to be supported by MC3020. So we changed the usage of that, the signature of that bridge to be passing an array by reference as a parameter, and then the interior implementation of the bridge would populate that array and then return a value that represented the number of or the length of the array that it populated. So instead of returning an array, you pass it an already allocated array, it fills it in, and then you can use it after that. So I had to update the Java implementations for Sierra and for Verifier to work with that new signature. And along the way, I kind of discovered that there was a hole in the support for by ref array parameters in Verifier. So I fixed that this morning. And just before this meeting, I was able to run the main branch with the random move selection on all three platforms. So Verifier, Sierra, and MC3020.
That's a pretty cool, that's a nice message for the conference. You know, we say that you separate your application from your architecture and you can preserve either one. And we say it a lot, but people don't usually do it. You know, they find the architecture they need, and but here's an example where we've got three running in parallel. Levi did highlight another weakness of MC3020 is it does not support very well dynamic arrays, basically arrays that can grow. And when it does it, it fakes actually a fixed length array and tries to work around it. But the length operator then is always returning the fixed length of the array and not dynamic. And so Levi had to eschew using the length operator on his arrays. And that's why that bridge returns a length so that he can use it as needed.
Okay. That's good.
So I guess
So
I
mine-
should retrofit that change to my model.
Yeah, I think so. I very soon I'll have a pull request into the main of the xtUML repository, and it will have the model changes in there, and I'll highlight that in the chat when that happens.
I'm going to recommend that if you ask Alistair to pull that change, that you help him get his branch ready, preview a pull, see what conflicts there may be. Because another thing that has happened, I think, since Alistair branched main, he probably branched before I made the, put the properties, which includes the indentation rules. So Alistair's persisted files probably have tabs in there and all kinds of stuff that's different. So it might be a row to bones to get merged. And I might ask, why does Alistair need to merge the change?
He
Because
doesn't.
Verifier changed?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't need to. But I mean, if you don't do it now, then if there is a change later to the main branch that he needs, then you've got to do it all at once.
Okay.
So,
So I've highlighted.
and I don't think it's going to
cost.
be, I don't think it's going to be difficult. I mean, with the
Okay.
textual xtML, even with the tabs and things like that, there might be a bigger change set than you expect, but it's not going to be, I don't expect it to be a
Yeah.
huge issue.
And in fact, I haven't made many changes to the basic the model as I inherited. I've changed that our turn state, and that's our turn and playing
And then-
move.
and-
I think
and
those
then
are the
Everything else you've simply added.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I've done some little things.
I'm gonna
I
roll
moved.
out.
It
Okay,
just
see ya.
it irritated me to see the check for take back or surrender or whatever as part of the our turn. So I moved it to be on the transition into our turn. So it just seemed to be separating. Anyway, I don't have a whole lot to offer. As I said, I waited for a long time to hear from John before moving on to, and I just recently added a small amount of essentially one move look ahead. Hey, if I make this move, what's the response? And remember, my strategy is only to look at moves where I can capture something, and
hmm
and then in response, I look at the responses and see what's the worst piece of mind that could be captured by making this move, and base it on that. So one thing that's interesting is because of that reduced evaluation, it runs quite happily in Verifier. It can sometimes pause a couple of seconds, while it thinks, but it's usable in Verifier,
Very
even
cool.
the look ahead. And also, it's interesting is that even that simplest sort of vicious tactic that the bot will take anything that it can, that made it quite, not entirely simple to beat it. I mean, it was ruthless, and you move something and you didn't spot there's a bishop over there, and whang, your piece is gone. And now that I added the small look ahead, it's a bit more circumspect about what it does, and it's maybe even harder to beat it because you don't quite know what it's going to do next. So that's as far as I've gotten.
That sounds awesome.
What does
Yeah,
it do if you can't take a piece?
And then it just takes a random move.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
random.
and I've added just for fun, I've given it an array of interesting opening or popular opening moves, and so if the game is not well advanced yet, I think I've put a limit on 10 moves or something like that, and it can't find
Right.
anything to take. It hunts around there to see if there's an interesting opening move it can make. So
Right.
that's just it's kind of
Yeah,
just to make it look more realistic.
that's good.
that is good. I did work a little bit on my evaluation criteria over the last 2 weeks. And similar to you, Alistair, the simplest form of my implementation so far, not including the look ahead behavior, the evaluation itself just looks at how many pieces do I have versus how many pieces do they have and comparing. And so inherently it does the same thing as what yours does, where it tries to capture pieces if they're available without getting recaptured in order to get an advantage. And when I started working on adding additional evaluation criteria, such as how far along the board are the pawns, how safe is the king, those types of things, what I found was it started making some really silly moves if I weighted those additional criteria too heavily. And so the basic strategy of take something if you can without getting taken back, or take something if you can if it's a good trade and it's not going to be a worse trade, is actually a really solid strategy.
Yeah, I've noticed. I mean, I try to play the same game over and over again, just, make sure, see what it was doing. And always in very early stages, it would move out a knight and I would have a pawn, and it would take that pawn, even though I had another pawn ready to take the knight as soon as it did that. But now it won't take it. It looks and sees, oh, I lose a knight for getting a pawn. No, thanks. So it's interesting, like I say, how smart it appears to be with quite a simple algorithm.
Yeah. I observed the same thing.
So yeah, that's it. That's I guess that's all I have to report.
Okay. Well, mine's
I should say that one of the things I'm doing is I'm trying to keep, as far as I can, the set of moves that I consider interesting. And I wasted a lot of time trying to prune that set based on what was going on, only to realize that I cannot escape having to completely look at the set of moves and sync them with the new set of legal moves, which and the case where that really shows up is if the king is put in check, suddenly the array of 29 legal moves may come down to 3 because so many have to be discarded because they don't get you out of check. And so I realized there's no escaping that I have to prune the set of moves based on the new set of legal moves that arrive. And so a lot of my heuristics for, saying, oh, well, never mind what they were, but, they just became unnecessary because you have to do that brute force syncing. But my reason for trying to keep them is I'm envisaging adding a state machine to the moves so that I never reevaluate a move unless something has changed in its circumstance. In other words, I don't want to keep looking to see, whether that move that moves the pawn over here 1 step or 2 steps, I don't want to keep repeating evaluation of that. So, in other words, if I've looked at it and it didn't do anything interesting and nothing about its squares have changed, it won't respond to evaluate. That's my plan. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I've got very little to report in that it's August and I've had the grandchildren here, so I've done nothing at all.
Colin, are you waiting on me for moving forward?
I think I still am. Yes, it's 2 weeks since we spoke. So, yeah, I've literally done nothing since we last spoke. So,
okay. So maybe we could get together early next week.
Okay.
Depending on your schedule, it's not urgent if you still have things going on, but maybe Monday or Wednesday next week.
Okay. I'll drop you a message.
Okay, sounds good. Paul, do you have anything to report, or are you just coming in to listen to the updates?
Sound, you're muted, Paul.
Coming in to listen to the updates. I'm particularly interested in finding out where Colin had got to, because I knew that the model, Bridgepoint wasn't working properly for you, Colin, I think. And I think in our conversations about 2 weeks ago, we didn't want to repeat the same problem in my installation. So we were hanging fire a little bit until things had been resolved. But I think I'm probably going to end up just sort of working with you, Colin, and just interacting with you rather than trying to build anything separate at this stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Levi, now I think of it, I had that problem with seeing multiple tabs with the same edit content. And so I started, I I made a point of trying to look very carefully at what was going on every time I opened an edit window to make sure that I wasn't getting duplicates. And it behaved so well for days and days that I stopped being so observant. And suddenly yesterday, I found myself with 3 copies of the same, because I wasn't watching carefully enough. So I don't know what's going on.
Okay. Yeah, I still haven't experienced that myself. But if you do happen to catch some detail that helps you reproduce it,
Sure.
I'll look at that as soon as we can reliably
Sure,
reproduce
yeah.
it.
No, I say it's so erratic. For the longest time I was very careful and no, everything's behaving itself, and then suddenly, get distracted and there. What can I
And
say?
what do you think of my theory that I mentioned before that it has to do with breakpoints?
I tried that and I couldn't make it happen, but I'll just have to be more observant. Try and track what triggers it.
Okay. All right. Any more updates? Okay,
No.
then let's go ahead and leave it off here, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good.
Bye.
Bye.